My favourite statue is coming up. It's just before Westminster Bridge. 3 warrior women on a war chariot charging into battle. It's so dramatic. It's Boudica, the queen of the Iceni tribe and her 2 daughters. If you were on the big bus as we went through the city, you may remember that Boudica led an uprising against the Romans in AD 61. She invaded Londinium and slaughtered just about everyone. Scary lady.
All right, folks, we're now back at the Houses of Parliament, the home of British democracy. Big Ben is one of the most iconic buildings in London.
Order! Order! Order on the big bus! Must I remind my right honourable friend yet again that the tower is not called Big Ben. The tower is called Queen Elizabeth Tower. Big Ben is the name of the big bell at the top of the big tower.
Yes, you're right again, Tally. It's just that most people say Big Ben.
Then may I remind my right honourable big bus friend that most people are wrong and should know better.
Well, I certainly stand corrected.
Noted. Carry on.
Okay, so underneath the Elizabeth Tower is the House of Commons, and that's where all the elected members of Parliament debate with the government of the day. Prime Minister's question time can get a little bit rowdy. See what I mean? In the 11th century, there was a royal palace here. Over the years, it was rebuilt, and after a fire in 1834, work began on building the Houses of Parliament you see here today. It's the #1 building that says London. We're now in Parliament Square, where you'll find historical selfie spots everywhere you look, as well as the splendid vistas of the Houses of Parliament, Big Ben and Westminster Abbey. There are also statues of major historical figures lining 2 sides of the square, known as the Defenders of Democracy. Buddy, what do you know?
Let's start with the most photographed. And that's the impressive bronze statue of Sir Winston Churchill, our former Prime Minister and leader during World War II. Mr. Churchill was in fact Prime Minister twice, from 1940 to 1945, and then again from 1951 to 1955.
Now, which is the newest statue?
That would be Millicent Garrett Fawcett's statue, which was erected in 2018. Millicent was the leader of the National Union of Women's Suffrage Societies. Their campaigning for women's rights saw women finally being granted equal voting rights in 1918.
And what about the oldest?
That's George Canning's statue, which was placed here back in 1867. Canning was Prime Minister of the UK for just 119 days in 1827. He held the record for being the shortest serving Prime Minister until more recently, when Conservative Party PM Liz Truss lasted just 44 days.
Other famous and inspirational figures immortalised here include Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Abraham Lincoln.
Did you know?
There is only one statue of a woman on Parliament Square. She is Dame Millicent Fawcett, who, over 100 years ago, was a political leader who led the National Union of Women's Suffrage Society. She was a prolific champion of many causes to help children and women. In 2019, Millicent was announced as the winner of the BBC Radio 4's poll for the most influential woman of the past 100 years. Her statue holds a banner that reads, "Courage calls to courage everywhere."
Is anybody hungry? Does anyone fancy cod and chips and a portion of mushy peas?
Oh, I love fish and chips. I think I'll have some tonight.
Yep, it could be said that fish and chips is the national dish of Britain. But where did this dish come from, I hear you ask?
Where did it come from?
Well, it's believed that in the 17th century, Sir Walter Raleigh brought the potato to England, and it's believed the French invented French fries.
Le French fries!
Both Lancashire and London stake a claim to being the first to invent this famous meal, as chips were a cheap food in the industrial north, whilst fried fish was being eaten in London's East End. In fact, Charles Dickens mentioned a fried fish warehouse in his novel Oliver Twist. Anyway, at some point the people of Britain put the chips and the fish together to get fish and chips! It's said that in 1860 Mr. Joseph Mallin opened the first fish and chip shop in London. And with the arrival of steam trawlers and steam trains, fish that was caught in the North Atlantic Ocean could be sent all over the country fast. It was important for working families as an affordable part of their weekly diet, especially in World War II when food was rationed. For years, fish and chips was looked down upon by the food snobs, but now we know it's a very nutritious meal. And if you haven't already had some, then you should try it, especially from a proper fish and chip shop.
And don't forget the mushy peas.
Mushy peas! When you're exploring London, you will have seen or been in one of the most iconic vehicles on the planet, the London Black Cab. Wherever you are in the world, if you see one, you think London. I've got my mate Chris on the phone. He's a London cab driver, and he can tell us more. Hiya, Chris.
All right, George.
Can you tell everyone on the big bus a little bit about the history of the London cab?
Hello, big bus. This is Chris the cabbie. Now, originally they were called hackney cabs. They were horse-drawn, and they first appeared here in the 1600s during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. By 1760 there were more than 1,000 licensed taxis, but they got the nickname the Hackney Heel Carts because they were rubbish and the drivers were well dodgy. Now, the first motorised cab driven in London was in 1897, and incredibly it was powered by electricity. But they weren't reliable, so after a few years they were taken off the streets. However, the London taxi has come full circle, as the new taxis are of course electric. Oh, gotta go, got a fare. Well, have fun on your big bus. Be lucky.
Be lucky, Chris. I expect many of you on the big bus may have travelled on the London Underground, but could you imagine all those tunnels filled with water?
What do you mean?
Well, in the early part of the 19th century, the government had been discussing this revolutionary idea of transporting people across London underground, and one of the first ideas was to fill the tunnels full of water. Have people sit in barges that will be pulled along by loads of horses.
That's a mad idea.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because for many years the main way to transport goods around Britain was by barges sailing up and down the waterways and canals. It was a bit slow, but it was very effective. Thankfully, that idea never got off the ground. So it was in 1863 that London opened the world's very first underground passenger railway system, using gas-lit wooden carriages pulled along by steam trains.
Oh, can you imagine being underground with all that soot and noise?
The first tunnel ran from Paddington to Farringdon. Everyone on the big bus, have a guess how many people used it on that first day. Anyone?
500.
38,000.
Wow, that's extraordinary.
Okay folks, for those of you who were with us earlier, we're now going back over Westminster Bridge, so get your cameras ready for some fantastic views across the River Thames.
So much to see. Make sure you take as many photos as you can. Go, go, go!
We have the Thames, the longest river in England. It's the reason why London exists.
We have great views of the London Eye, standing an incredible 135 metres over the Thames. Take it from me, the views from the Eye are spectacular.
If you feel like it's time for a riverside walk or fancy some food, then get off the bus at our next stop.
Now, I've just had a message from one of our previous guests on the Big Bus Adventure, and they've asked me to tell you about a lovely museum they went to close by here.
Is it in the grounds of St Thomas's Hospital?
Yes.
Is it celebrating the life of the founder of modern nursing?
Yes.
Is it the Florence Nightingale Museum?
No.
No.
No, it is. Yeah, I was just joking.
You rotter! I'd have loved to have met her. In the mid-19th century, she changed the face of nursing and turned it into the highly skilled profession it is today. She wrote loads of books. The first one was,
Notes on Nursing?
That's it! Notes on Nursing. What it is and what it is not. And it's nice to know that she was an icon in her own lifetime, and Florence is still an inspiration today to nurses all over the world.
Yeah, she sounds amazing. The wounded soldiers she looked after in the Crimean War called her the Lady with the Lamp. We're close to Lambeth Palace. It's a building that really stands out in this area. For nearly 800 years, it's been the London home of the Archbishop of Canterbury, who is the spiritual leader of the Anglican Church.
Hang on, you made that sound like the Archbishop is over 800 years old.
No, but the palace goes with the job. There have been lots of archbishops. It's a really classy place. Some parts date back to the 1400s, and there are some classic works of art in there by great artists like Hans Holbein and Anthony van Dyck.
Is it open to the public?
Well, it's best to check, as I believe they do guided tours at times, and during the summer, they occasionally open the gardens. Alright folks, it's a very exciting moment for all of us on the big bus as we are about to cross Lambeth Bridge. There are some great photo opportunities, fantastic views of the Houses of Parliament and Westminster Bridge. Lambeth Bridge is a bit of a movie star. Buddy, you're the movie man. What do you know?
In Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, when the night bus takes Harry to the Leaky Cauldron, it magically squeezes between two London buses on Lambeth Bridge. Don't worry, we won't try that today.
Or will we?
And in Jackie Chan's action movie The Foreigner, they blew up a double-decker bus on the bridge. Don't worry, we definitely won't try that one today.
Or will we?
Thanks, buddy. Now, at the far end of the bridge is a very impressive building. It's the... No, I shouldn't say.
Oh, go on.
No, it's a secret.
Tell them, they won't tell many people.
All right. That is Thames House, and it's home to a department of the British Secret Service, MI5.
Like James Bond.
Bond works for MI6. They're down the river at Vauxhall.
What's the difference?
Well, funny you should ask. MI6 are the spies who do the spying. MI5 are the spies who catch the spies who are doing the spying.
Have you just spoken in code?
You will never know. Order! Silence in court. Read out the very odd laws.
Yes, my lord. Here are some very strange old London laws that are still laws today.
It's illegal for MPs to wear armour in Parliament.
It is illegal to die in the House of Lords.
It is illegal to take a taxi if you have the plague.
It's illegal to touch a pelican.
It's illegal to dress as a Chelsea pensioner, unless you are one.
It is illegal to mate with the Queen's corgis. That's let your dog mate with the corgis, not...
It's illegal to carry a plank or ladder along a pavement.
It's illegal to be drunk in the pub.
It is illegal to handle a salmon in suspicious circumstances.
It's an offence to be drunk and in charge of cattle in England and Wales.
And finally, the most works of crime of all, and definitely the most British.
It's an offence to jump a queue in a tube station.
Guilty. Everyone on the big bus is guilty. You have all touched my pelican.
Westminster Abbey, coming up on our left, is not only an architectural masterpiece, but is also synonymous with royalty, pageantry, and celebrations of the great and the good. Since 1066, it has been the site of the coronation of 40 British monarchs. Until 1953, this ceremony was only witnessed by invited guests. But at the coronation of the late Queen Elizabeth II, TV cameras were allowed to film the ceremony inside for the very first time, and over 10 million people watched from their homes.
The Abbey is also the final resting place of many kings and queens, 30 to be exact. Plus, some heroes of Britain and British culture, like author Charles Dickens and scientists Isaac Newton and Stephen Hawking.
It's worth noting that the late Queen Elizabeth II isn't buried in Westminster Abbey. In her later years, Windsor Castle became her main home, and her final resting place is there, alongside her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, in the King George VI Memorial Chapel.
Westminster Abbey has also seen many a royal wedding, including the 2011 marriage of Prince William and Catherine Middleton. Then, on Saturday the 6th of May 2023, the Abbey hosted the coronation of King Charles III in an opulent ceremony that brought the monarchy and the nation into a new age.
Millions around the world watched as the Archbishop of Canterbury crowned this century's first new monarch, who vowed in his oaths to serve the nation and to protect its many faiths.
Let's go over to Buddy with the travel. Buddy, what do you know?
We're on a diversion at the moment. We have some road closures, which means we can't follow our planned routes. Sorry about that. The circumstances are beyond our control. I'll let you know when the next big bus stop is coming up and when we're back on our normal route.
Thanks, buddy. These days, we heavily rely on using electronic maps to get around. But what did Londoners use to navigate the city before the times of technology? Well, the famous A to Z book, of course. Buddy, tell us more.
These boots are made for walking.
It all began in the 1930s when Phyllis Isabella Pearsall got lost on her way to a party in Belgravia whilst navigating by way of an old London map. Now, most of us would just ask someone for directions, but Phyllis went one step further. Well, 3,000 miles further, actually, as she walked every one of London's 23,000 streets to compile her very own comprehensive A to Z. Now that's dedication.
When the London A to Z was first produced in 1936, retailers were not interested at all. But eventually, W.H. Smith ordered over 200 copies of it, which Phyllis personally delivered to the head office, and from then it became a huge success. On the edge of Mayfair is one of the world's most prestigious hotels. It is, of course, the Ritz.
I love the Ritz! Let's go now! Hands up if you want to go to the Ritz. Yes, I think that's everyone on the big bus. Let's go! I fancy tea and scones.
Sorry, Tally, but we haven't got time.
Worth a try. But folks, if you do have the time, then you should book to have afternoon tea there. It's a great treat. I took my mother for her birthday. She loved it. Hasn't stopped talking about it. We have the traditional afternoon tea. You get sandwiches, freshly baked scones, and a gorgeous selection of pastries. Oh yes, and the Ritz Hotel is the only hotel in the UK to have a certified tea sommelier who travels around the world to all these tea plantations to find the best teas. You must go. Tell them Tally sent you.
Like $1 million trooper.